Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Bridges and Barriers, bringing food to market. Today's webinar is going to be 2 hours of what I'm really excited about. We have a panel of experts here in the North who are going to be displaying the ways that they stayed innovative and creative throughout COVID, the last 18 months of COVID. To get us started, I would like to begin with a land acknowledgement and just state our gratitude that we learn and work and play on the ancestral lands of First Nations who continue to care for these lands since time memorial. I'd like to pop into a bit of housekeeping briefly. I think we're going to ask for everyone to stay muted, and if possible, take yourself off video. It really does help for people who are in rural, remote areas who don't have the strongest of connections, and it allows the bandwidth to be more solid. This is being recorded. The links will be sent out to people, project participants and people who have registered for this. It will also be found on the Local Food and Farm Co-op's YouTube page if you choose to visit this at a later date and time. I am Kelly Wright. I am the Northern Food Network project coordinator. The NFDN is a FedNor funded network which brings together leaders and food system actors from all across Northern Ontario to work on projects that improve the conditions of distribution, resiliency, and accessibility. With us today, we have Steve Smith. As I mentioned earlier, he is the Direct Farm and Marketing Specialist at OMAFRA. We have Barry Potter, who is the Northern Region Agricultural Development Advisor. We have Trina Simon, who is the Systems Manager for Ottawa Freshwater Gardens. We have Katrina Violette, who co-owns Adagio Farms, but today she's representing the Pawasan Farm Stand Tour. And we also have David Thompson, who is the manager of Rural Agri Innovation Network. It also goes by RAIN. So yeah, just to get things rolling, because we have a very full 2 hours in front of us. Barry grew up here in Northern Ontario for people who don't yet know him. He works with advisors and organizations and farmers to promote farming and food processing here in the North. He's been a long time with OMAFRA in his role as the Northern Regional Agricultural Development Advisor. So thank you, Barry, for coming on board today and giving us the outcomes of the research project that you did this summer.
Thank you, Kelly, and hopefully my screen sharing works, and if not, we'll just chat. But I am going to share a screen, and Kelly, if you can tell me if you can see it or not.
Looks good.
All right, so basically what we want to talk about is some agriculture economic development local food case studies that our ministry did this summer, and we had a couple of summer students who worked on this, and very appreciate Haley Archambault and Rhea Hack who did the work on it. We did a total of 12 case studies looking at Eastern, Western region and Northern region. And what we're looking at was the opportunity that was presented to the organization, the steps that were taken, and then the outcomes. And this will be used to support, we have a course called an Agriculture Economic Development for Municipalities. It's a resource guide for communities, and we use these case studies in the course that we offer to help them to look at potential opportunities in their region, stimulate ideas. And so we're not going to go through all the case studies in detail in my presentation because you're going to hear from some of them a little later. But just for reference sake, the Eastern and Western regions of Ontario, we looked at York Farm Fresh, we looked at Agritech Hackathon, we looked at agriculture and agri-food value chain business retention and expansion study for Simcoe, Grey, and Bruce County. We did a business retention and expansion project for Dufferin County. We looked at the agricultural high skills major program in Grey County, and then Grove 365 in London, Ontario. So those are the ones that were done for Southern Ontario. And if people want more information on any of those projects, you can feel free to reach out and we can supply some information on that. In the Northern region, Haley Archambault, the summer student, looked at 6 different parts of Northern Ontario. We looked at Biogoma Buy Local, the City of Thunder Bay, Ottawa Freshwater Gardens, the Lake Temiskaming Tour, Rainy River District Regional Abattoir, and then the Great Pawasan and Area Farm Stand Tour. And as I referenced earlier, you're going to hear from Dave Thompson of Rain on Biogoma, and you're going to hear from Trinity on Ottawa Freshwater Gardens, and then Katrina on the Great Pawasan Farm Stand Tour a little later, so we won't go into detail on those. So Biogoma Buy Local, just as a reference, Dave's going to expand on that, but just the opportunity that they saw was on a marketing front. It's a challenge to communicate what local is. And in the past, many consumers believe buying local meant purchasing food from the local grocer. So looking forward to how the Biogoma developed and the results as well. In the City of Thunder Bay, and I think that one of the previous Northern Food Distribution Network Ecological Farmers of Ontario had Dan speak, but just looking at what they were doing, their objective was to demonstrate how one individual developed a forward buying tool to procure local food for regionally operated facilities, and to show how the application of a forward buying contract improves food security within the region. So one of the challenges for the City of Thunder Bay, their supply management division, how they purchase food, is to make sure that they have sustainable procurement at a competitive price. And so they wanted to make sure that they have a budget, that they're meeting their budget, but they also wanted to incorporate local food into that. And sourcing local food year-round was also an obstacle in the early going. And so the steps they took to try to overcome that was to understand they had a Thunder Bay food charter. And certainly there's a lot more information online you can look up on that, but Dan studied that, and then in committing to the charter's ideologies of using local food, they developed a procurement process to include more local food. And one of the ways they did that was a forward buying tool. And that tool ensures the sales for the producer, so they can budget that out and lessens the burden on them. And the forward contracting structure averages the cost of food purchased from previous year's factors in market inflation and establishes a fair product pricing for the producer and for the City of Thunder Bay that meets their budgeting needs. And so some of the outcomes from that study was just the local food procurement went up, and it started at around 14%, and within the past 5 years, it's climbed to 35%. And the city currently has contracts with approximately 4 to 6 producers at any given time. And Dan's really focusing as well on building relationships with Indigenous food foragers, and he's investigating with them opportunities to build the food supply chain with an Indigenous focus. So you can just see the graph showing the rise in local food as the purchases increased. And then the second case study that we looked at was Ottawa Freshwater Gardens. And again, we look forward to hearing from Trinity on that. But basically it was to show that how a successful vertical farming operation improved food security and demonstrate how they were able to boost local economy and raise consumer awareness about the availability of fresh gardens close to home. One that near to me is the Lake Temiskaming tour, and this case study was to look at how one Northern Ontario district developed a successful self-guided passport tour to draw attention to local food and drink available in the region. And so the original intent was to build tourism through promoting attractions in the area, and you can see on the right, on my right hand side, that the tour is around Lake Temiskaming, which the headwaters is Temiskaming Shores, and goes around on Quebec side through Ville Marie down to Temiskaming, Quebec, over to North Bay, and then up through the towns of Temagami and Latchford and back to Temagami Shore. So there was tourism opportunities built into that. But a few years after that, they looked at how can we incorporate agri-food businesses, and they were seeing more demand. It was the next trend in tourism, and so they developed the Lake Temiskaming Tour culinary experience. And so they've identified some different local food opportunities within the regional area. Thorno Cheese is fairly famous for our area, and there's an opportunity for foodies and tourists to stop by and to access some of the product that's there, and as well taste it and see what's available. Bison De Nord is a buffalo farm that is in our area, and they offer tours. Now with COVID, that was curtailed, but they're going to be offering tractor-towed wagon rides through the pastures, and you can get up close to bison and see the process of raising them, and then as well stop by the farm for bison souvenirs and to taste some of the bison meat that they have available for sale as well. There are some other ones, I won't go through them all, but basically the Lake Temiskaming Tour built on the tourism strategy to access some local food outlets and promote that. So they received some funding from FedNor and Destination Northern Ontario to support some marketing around the Lake Temiskaming Tour. They are doing a video on some of the farms and agri-food businesses just to profile them and market it. And as part of that marketing, they've partnered with Savor Ottawa to be added to the digital map. So people are looking for culinary experiences, Lake Temiskaming Tour will show up. And through this project, 20 businesses have been directly supported and 135 businesses have been indirectly promoted. Another initiative is Rainy River District Regional Abattoir, and just to show how important it was for the area. And along with that, they had a lot of challenges. And so they diversified, they purchased Rainy River Meats, which gave them an opportunity to market their product more effectively. And the abattoir has had success in expanding its processing abilities. So just profiling that abattoirs are so essential if we want to do a local food business that centers on meat. We need to have those services available to connect the farmers with agri-food opportunities. We're going to hear from Katrina on the Great Pawasan Area Farm Stands Tour, but basically really exciting to listen to how they showcased a small Northern Ontario community to draw attention to their farm stands and connect consumers with fresh produce, preserves, and baked goods, just boosting local agri-food awareness and food access. So these things, the case studies that we did, are all to flow into this agriculture economic development course. And that has 3 stages, really. Stage 1 is to plant, to prepare your community for agriculture economic development. Stage 2 is to grow, getting to know what's out there in your community, what are the gaps, what are the opportunities. And then stage 3 is to harvest the good ideas, which some of them we'll learn today and hear about, and take action in our local communities. So that's just some of the case studies, and you're going to hear more details about some of them as we move forward. Thank you, and I'll stop sharing and turn it back to Kelly.
Thank you very much, Barry. That was an eye-opener. So I have one quick question before we move forward. Before I go there, though, I'll just remind people who are on the call that if they want to type their questions into the chat box, to go ahead, that'll be monitored. So in the case studies that were done, I see it was done in the south and in the north. Did you see any similarities or overlap in some of the strategies between the north and the south?
So I think that some of the parallels have been drawn. So we've ran educational opportunities such as this across Ontario in the past, and we have the East and North Local Food Conference coming up again in March. We ran it in March last year. And so these ideas, nothing is ever unique, right? But hopefully you can adapt and jump onto some of those. So some of these presenters later might talk about some, where they got some of the ideas from, but there's a lot of similarities between different municipalities and or farm organizations across Ontario. And I'm sure there was some adaptation taken to some of that stuff. We saw like Temiskaming Tour, like they piggybacked on what Sabre Ottawa has done down in that region as well. So I think so, in my opinion.
Okay, and
Beg, borrow, and steal wherever you can.
absolutely. With the agricultural economic development course that you run, if people were interested in taking it in all or in part, are you the person that they get a hold of to set that up?
Well, and I'll just highlight the fact that I'm one of 6 agriculture development advisors across Northern Ontario. So there's each region has one, and Carol Boucher is part of the organizing for this. That covers the district of Cochrane, but people can reach out to us or their local ag development advisor, or if you go online and Google the agriculture economic development for municipalities course, it'll pop up with some information too. But
Okay.
yeah, reach out to us, we'll help them for sure.
Thank you. We did have one question come in through the chat from Phil. He's wondering if you happen to know who purchased the Rainy River Abattoir.
So the Rainy River Abattoir is owned by a consortium of people in Rainy River District.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I think we're going to continue on now. The rest of the research presentation, and we'll circle back, and instead of having Stephen first, we're going to have him last. So our next presenter then is David Thompson from RAIN. As stated earlier, he is the manager of the Rural Innovation Network. He works with collaborators to undertake research, build relationships, and capacity for food processors across the North. We can see your screen. It's in full, and I'll let you take it from here, David. Thank you.
Okay. So as Kelly said, I'm the manager of the Rural Agri Innovation Network. We are a division of Sault Ste. Marie Innovation Center. Our mandate is a more resilient agri-food sector with a focus here on Algoma District. If you don't know a lot about Algoma District, we have a great diversity of agriculture, from cash crop to dairy to beef to horticultural producers that cover many different backgrounds of people, including Mennonite, Amish communities, and the most of our agri-food sector in terms of its production is between Sault Ste. Marie on the west, and as well as to Iron Bridge in the east. Algoma is a big place. Certainly there's a lot going up in Hearst as well. And also a number of producers in Wawa and Dubreuilville that are north of us, but certainly there's a great deal of activity in Algoma's agri-food sector. So Biogoma Buy Local is a branding and marketing program to promote local food and drink in Algoma District. It's led by RAIN out of the Innovation Center here, which is a nonprofit that serves Algoma. But before that, it's basically a collaboration of a number of organizations who came together who wanted to better communicate with local consumers about local food, local agriculture, and its merits, and that it's delicious. And that those organizations have been the Federation of Agriculture, Sheep and Lamb Producers, Beef Producers Association. So just a combination of those groups came together and said that, yeah, this is a priority. And so today, Biogoma Buy Local has been going on for about 10 years, and it's a membership-based program. We have over 65 members. Whether they be producers, restaurants, and retailers that emphasize local procurement and farmers markets. We raise funds for activities through corporate sponsors, businesses that support the agri-food sector in different ways, and that's included BDO, Sioux Mill, power companies, insurance companies. And we also get government grants from time to time for special projects. And we raise funds through membership fees and ads in different things like our printed guide. Our printed guide is the biggest part of the promotion to consumers locally, and it's a large map that unfolds, and it's a directory. We print close to about 5,000 copies annually, and we get this out to tourist organizations as well as businesses in the region. And we also this year been getting local signage at our retail members. So for products that are on their shelves, we want to draw attention that these are local products from Algoma producers. We also have an online directory at biogoma.ca, which is a business directory, as well as a mapping platform using software called ArcGIS. And so our blog is set up in a way where we have video and also maps that people can find local producers if they're out on the road and they're looking for tours that they can take. We also communicate quite a bit through social media, and most of the engagement is drawn by the content that we get from our members, whether it's recipes, promotions, or events. We share a lot about what they do, and you know, some are pretty active on social media and some aren't. So we like to draw more attention to just our members that don't have a strong online presence, just to share more information about their products and what they're doing. We've also noticed that contests are a great way to engage local consumers in this, and so we've hosted several social media contests where people can tag each other and share posts, sharing information about local products, and that's really been pretty effective. Another thing about social media that's been effective is just having photos with people that people know, and we also found that Facebook is kind of tricky to doing these contests, as you know, we've had some people doing like phishing scams that have started fake accounts. So I just caution people before they get into doing contests online that it's good to do some research and have clear guidelines for participation before you do it. The Local Food Trail is an initiative that we did last year when COVID hit, which is a self-guided local food adventure with chances to win some prizes that we put together. And so we opened this up to the community. We had about 30 families participate in the event, and a lot more who participated who didn't enter the contest with all their great photos that they took along the way. This is a great way to engage with the community, and we see that we can we'll likely be doing this again, but this year we didn't have the focus on it. Instead, this year our focus was to create a video series, blog video series, where we're showcasing local chefs that have, you know, they really prioritize local food, and we wanted to hear more from those chefs just about their story and the producers that they work with. So with that video series, you can check it out on the internet. Sorry, it looks like my power just went out here. So I just wanted to mention where we're going next, which is more of a focus on our culinary tourism. And with this, when COVID hit, we had to shelve our culinary tourism strategy that we worked so hard on with our tourism partners, Algoma Country and the City of Sault Ste. Marie. What we want to bring back is to have a focus on larger events on the shoulder seasons for our tourism sector. So on the winter months. And so next February, we are bringing back a dinner event that we hope to pair with a cross-country ski race, as well as a hut-to-hut event where people visit different vendors, and they also have a local food meal. And so we're going to be bringing that back in February. And if I had my slides up, I could show you a little video, but unfortunately, maybe we could have that at a different time. But yeah, happy to take any questions you guys might have about Biogoma and what we do. Thanks.
Thank you, David. We're hitting all of the tech glitches today. This usually never happens. So I mean, well, I'm waiting to see if anybody else has any questions for you in the chat box. I think I'm wondering what you found was the most challenging for you to address during COVID, and how did you creatively get over some of the hurdles? There was so much we just didn't know at the time of when it comes to tourism and marketing and promoting, what to pick up, what to do next.
Yeah, there certainly was a lot of government support programs for helping producers, processors to make investments in their e-commerce and their social media engagement. And so through the Innovation Center here, we led a number of projects that could help producers with that. But I feel that like there was that initial push to get people online using e-commerce, and I feel like it's been almost like a year since a lot of these projects have happened, and I see some businesses that have like almost kind of embraced that switch, and you see them like posting regularly on social media and they're getting out there, but others are maybe just not using those types of sales channels as much as they could, right? And I don't know, like, with a COVID research project that we did too, we noticed that broadband was a big challenge, right, across the north for producers to be able to have that direct connection. So that might be a factor in this as well, is just access to reliable broadband, where people aren't connecting with their cell phones and incurring a lot of bills. But yeah, and that could be a factor there. But that's an observation, I guess, on COVID and the adaptation.
Okay. Is there anything new happening at RAIN that you wanted to take a minute to announce?
Nothing to announce now. I mean, I know that most of the North is aware of our SNAP program, Sustainable New Agri-Food Products and Productivity Program. And we're going to have a webinar about a new intake for SNAP on December 9th. And so if people want more information, they can follow us at RAIN Algoma. Through the SNAP program, we had a lot of different range of producers utilize the program to create new products, to become more productive. So happy to chat with anybody who might have a project in mind there.
Fantastic, thank you. All right, so we're going to move on now to our next speaker, which is Katrina Violette. She's from the Pawasan area. She is a co-owner of Adagio Farms, and there they raise poultry and grow organic vegetables. But today she's with us in the role as the Pawasan Food Stand Tour. She's a liaison between the farming community, the public, and local partners. So Katrina, I'm going to hand it over to you for you to now present.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm, as mentioned, my name is Katrina Violette, and my husband and I run Adagio Farms. We're located in Chisholm, which is about a 15-minute drive east of Pawasan. And we've been here about 3 years, and we're first-generation farmers. So we have a lot of learning going on, and we've had a wonderful experience. And the Pawasan farm stand tour has been absolutely one of the best things that's happened to us. So today I want to talk about what is the Pawasan Farm Stand Tour. And it's basically a self-guided tour of farm gate stands that are stocked regularly through the growing season with produce, meat, and value-added products. So obviously beef, chicken, lamb, vegetables, honey, maple syrup. It's essentially was born of a conversation between myself and a fellow farmer named Matt Larivie at Foxfire Heritage Farms. The two of us were both setting up our farm stands for the first time in 2020. And I just kind of sent him a text message and said, hey, you know, there seems to be a couple of us out here. What if I put together a map that might show people where the farm stands are and maybe, you know, what they could get there. And he thought that was a great idea. And he said, yeah, we could make it kind of like a driving tour. And so that's kind of where this entire idea was born. So my background in graphic design came in handy, and I put together a map. And what started off as a handful of farm stands has turned into a community-wide initiative, which is awesome. We really felt that there were strength in numbers, obviously, and we saw that the location of where we all are was a bit of a barrier in terms of connecting with North Bay, which is about a half-hour drive away. North Bay's population sits around 53,000, so that's kind of a good-sized market to tap into. And obviously, Pawasan area is quite a bit smaller, but we do see lots and lots of our neighbors out and around on the tour, which is wonderful. So this image that I'm showing you here, this is basically the map from 2021 that I put together. And our first map was a little more rudimentary. This year's map has 29 stops on it, including some feed stores, which I'll get into a little bit later. And I also included the color system to kind of give people an idea of what you could find there. It was wonderful to see the wide range of product offered in our area, and quite frankly, surprising. We were all kind of taken aback. Once this idea got out there, it really started to grow very quickly. So it was definitely a fun way to get people out and about. And the beautiful thing that brought it all together, honestly, was COVID. People were really anxious to kind of get out of their homes and do something new, but keep themselves safe. So the farm stands really, without intending to suit that exact type of activity. They're self-sustaining. You don't have to interact with other people. All of them, pretty much, you can just go find the products you're looking for, pay for them right on site. It works out really, really well for that. So as I said, the challenge for marketing was getting people out to the farm, because many farms don't do delivery. It's just not feasible. So bringing people out with lots of stops to do really made it worth people's while. Here's some examples of some of the farm stands you'll see. This one is obviously from our farm at Adagio. So this year we were able to build a new farm stand thanks to some funding from NOHFC, and expand to allow for more space between patrons and more airflow and that kind of thing. Our original stand was just a small shed and fit one person at a time. It was pretty crowded. So we're really grateful to be able to take advantage of that. And it's really helped bolster traffic to the area and allow us to expand our product offerings and that kind of thing. Along the tour, you'll see all manner of stands, which is part of the charm of it. Here's Foxfires on the left. Again, he has a lovely standalone building, freezers and fridges inside with displays for vegetables and that kind of thing. Totally self-sufficient. you know, he's got signage up for e-transfer. You can do cash. There's a cash box. Many of us leave out a small bowl of change for people. You know, it's all based on the honor system. And so far it's been really well received and not many issues with it. On the right is Pine Ridge Acres, and they have a gorgeous little wagon style stand, which works really, really well for them. And it just adds to the uniqueness. Every stop is a little different. Some take advantage of the outside section, the outside areas around their stand. Again, it doesn't really take much, but it really adds to the unique experience at every single stand. So it's awesome for vendors as well as visitors to just see all the different characters and different personalities of each of the farms. So through a partnership with 250 Clark, which is a community hub based out of Pawasan, we have basically turned what was a passive farm stand tour into a seasonal event, really. There's a variety of events that we run during the growing season. We run from the May long weekend until Thanksgiving weekend, which kind of covers the height of vegetable production anyways. And so through a collaborative effort with them, we've got a poker run that we did for the first time last year, the Great Pumpkin Tour, which we did for the second time this year, and a variety of bicycle tours for cycling tourists. And each of those has really helped grow the awareness of who we are, what we do, what's available in your backyard, as well as turning it into a bit of an agritourism business that's rippled out to the small businesses in the area. Next year, we're hoping to have wayfinding signage posted. Again, through a grant with NOHFC, I was able to obtain funds to develop wayfinding signage just to help people keep on the route and that kind of thing. Despite all the maps in the world, people do rely a lot on signage. So this hopefully will really help kind of keep people, you know, at least know they're on the right direction or the right path. Some of our rural roads, it feels like you're just going to go forever and not see something. So hopefully this will help. But we're trying to really grow our presence in the area, and it'll also help educate people who are there on other business, you know, and just kind of see these signs and go, hey, what's this all about? I need to find out more. So in the first year, we had roughly 7 participating farms, and in 2021, we had 29 stops. And those stops also included, as I mentioned before, some of the feed stores, general stores, gift shops, and we also have the Carriage House Market, which is a small community local food store, as well as they offer coffee and hot food and that kind of thing. So we've really kind of broadened the farm stand tour itself. It also loops in the farmers market, which goes on every Saturday, following the exact same season as the farm stand tour. So it offers a wide variety of options and places for people to go, and it really caters to their own schedule, come as you are kind of thing, which is wonderful. When Matt and I first kind of started talking about this initiative, he said, let's do a Facebook page. We can share the map there. We can start to tell people about it. And it's really become this wonderful platform of over 3,400 followers for people to kind of find food and see what's available. So we didn't intend necessarily for it to become that way, but people just latched onto it. And now you'll find people from, you know, North Bay and area saying, hey, who has a side of beef? Or I'm looking for bok choy, who has any this week? And all the farms will then, you know, say, hey, we've got some, here's our address, here's, you know, come by, here's the pricing, whatever. So it's really become this fantastic platform for people to kind of meet and connect and get access to the local food they're looking for. The Great Pumpkin Tour, I could probably just do a presentation on it. It's a fantastic initiative. Again, it was driven by 250 Clark. And so from the 29 farms on the actual standard farm stand tour route, roughly 14 participated. And this is a much more heavily engaged on-farm event. And it happened on first Saturday in October. And each of the farms on the tour hosted a variety of other vendors who maybe just didn't have the capacity to host, or just don't have a storefront or anything at all. So in our farm in particular, we had a honey producer, maple syrup producer, knitted crafts, and those types of things. So it allowed an outlet for other vendors to have a face-to-face interaction, one day mini market essentially. 2020, it took us by surprise. We expected, I don't know, I was saying 25 or 50 people maybe, and over 2,000 people came. So the desire to get out and experience the farm life and be out in the country and find that local food was really, really strong. And it continued that trend through this year. And people from the area come out, which is just incredible, blows my mind. How excited people were to come out and experience the farm day and meet the farmers and see where their food is grown. So it really fostered this very intimate connection to food. It was absolutely wonderful. So moving forward, we're hoping to have more events similar to we've had in the past. People are really enjoying it. We're in talks right now on developing a summertime event where, our produce might be right at the height. A lot more of this on-farm activity. People are really, really enjoying the experience as well as the local food. And I'm thrilled to have been even a small part of it. So thank you so much. If there's any questions, I don't know if I've got any time left, but I'll turn it back over.
Yeah, we do have a few minutes, so I'm hoping people put some questions into the chat box. This is so new for Northern Ontario. This is something I've seen in the South in a few locations. And so I think what I'm curious about, what do you think was the tipping point that brought you from 7 to 29 stops in such a short period of time?
It's a good question. I think a lot of people were kind of on the edge of, we've bought a farm, we want to do something, we might put a stand out. And I think once they saw the success of what this little group did, they were like, I want in there too. So we were very active on social media promoting. People were getting ideas and going, oh, maybe I can just put a small stand out and be part of this. So that's really what happened. Everything from a standalone building. There was one farm in particular this year that ran their entire stand out of a tarp garage, at the end of their driveway. And that's all it takes, start small, just get out there and get involved in it. And it's incredible to see how quickly you can go from a small table of goods to a full-fledged offering. So I think just people seeing it happen around them really brought them out of the woodwork, as it were, and they jumped in. And it's a lot of fun.
That helps when it's a lot of fun. So it sounds like you also provided a fair bit of guidance on this. Although you launched it, it seems like it's a bit of a pilot project. You're just sort of curious to see where it would go. And it did grow on its own. What kind of guidance or nudges along the way did you pop in and provide?
So I act as a liaison really truly between myself and Matt. We really try and keep the administration of the tour itself very light duty. Both of us work full-time off the farm, and then we do farming on the side. So we're very busy, and we really didn't have a desire to have a board of directors and really make it a formal thing. We wanted it to intentionally be a light input for anyone involved in it. So my guidance has really been from a marketing standpoint. As I said, I'm a graphic designer, so I can make up signage, I can do the maps, just helping organize it, answer questions. As far as the social media goes, Matt and I screen the posts. We have a few others that are admins as well, just to keep the conversation on the page on topic. We don't we don't want to dilute it with a bunch of other vendors or topics and that kind of thing. So we really try and keep it focused on local food questions. So that's really where my guidance has come from. Again, we get a lot of support from 250 Clark. They have a big voice in the community. They're active, they're awesome, great connections. We've had lots of media coverage because of it. CTV News, we were published in Harrowsmith magazine. Like, it's been amazing to have that connection. So that's really helped grow it as well.
And so I'm hearing stories of what you're thinking about in coming seasons, and how are then, with such a light touch to this, are you figuring out where to go next and to develop the next sense? Is this just gut instinct, see where it goes, or are you doing market research?
We're really just paying close attention to what works, and we really focus on keeping the power in the hands of the producers themselves. So we've provided the platform, and we're letting each individual farm and producer kind of take the reins and advertise what they want to do and how they want to do it on their own. It's just been really more of a container for this bubbling, vat of creativity and that kind of thing. So 250 Clark, again, they push and they say, hey, you know what, we're thinking of doing this. And I say, hey, okay, that sounds great. Then I kind of pose it to the rest of the group and say, would you guys be interested in doing an event like this? And a bunch of people say yes. So we have enough of a community now that we can have a partial participation and still have an amazing turnout. So that's kind of, we are doing a little bit of market research in that we're checking out, I love to hear more about the Temiskaming tour and, learn more about what they're doing. People are also taking it upon themselves to expand their own farm business as they're getting more supported. We're seeing more CSAs pop up. We're seeing on-farm workshops pop up. I'm considering doing some yoga workshops because I have a beautiful hayloft. So lots more little ideas kind of bubble out of it, and it just becomes this hub of engagement and activity.
We do have a question here in the chat from Barry, and he says, you've put a lot of volunteer time into this. Do you charge others for managing the Facebook page? Does 250 Clark supply assistance?
Great question, Barry. I don't charge people for it. I consider the work, I just want to see it happen. And I am definitely working on behalf of my own farm also. What's good for me is good for everyone, and vice versa. I have been paid a few times for doing work for 250 Clark. Every time we have a new event, for the pumpkin tour, I modify the map to include only those participating. I give it, the look and style of the theme, that kind of thing. So we have had an agreement like that, which is great. And that's fine by me. I was thrilled to have some funding to put together the signs. They didn't take long to do. I already have connections in the community with, sign vendors. So it's really not a huge demand on me. I don't feel, but I'm just happy. I just want to see this thing work. I just love it. I think it's great.
You have a lot of passion to keep this going.
Yeah.
So last question. If somebody in another region was inspired by what you did, and knowing what you know now, what would be the two things that you would want somebody to know if they were going to launch something in this sort of realm?
Two things you want to know: there may be more support out there than you think. Neither Matt or I could have forecast that it would have gotten as big as it did. We were really just two friends saying, hey, let's see what happens. And before you know it, it's blown up. So I think there's more support out there for the idea. There are more producers out there, I think, than you know. At least that's what happened to us. We did not expect this many farms to come aboard. Many farms were just down the road from both of us, and we didn't even know who they were, what they did, and there they are. So there's lots of discovery to happen. Something else you might want to know is really there's a huge value in partnering with your local community hub, whatever that looks like. Their mandate is to promote tourism and business development in the area. So they already have half of your interests in mind. And if you can partner up with them, that's a wonderful partnership to have, because they're going to be the driving engine behind the economic development of the area. You're bringing something unique, so it can be a very, very valuable relationship. That's really what's happened with us. And that can be any of your tourism organizations, municipalities, any of those folks. Many of them just don't even know the value of something like this. And I hope the farm stand tour is an excellent case study, and it does inspire another community to do this, because as I say, it doesn't take much. You just have to kind of kick it and then just keep it spinning.
Great advice. Kick it and keep it spinning. Thank you so very much for this. It's truly inspirational what you've pulled off in such a short period of time.
Thanks so much.
Okay. So we are gearing up to hear from Trinity Simon, who is the systems manager, and she oversees the marketing and retail of the produce that's grown there. And Trinity has some slides to share with us.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is my first time presenting, so bear with me. I'm the systems manager for the hydroponic system in Shishigwaning First Nation. My job is mainly to market and to sell the greens. I make sure everything is done on time with seeding and harvesting, and I also deliver to local communities with local grocery stores, people, and restaurants. I started working with Shishigwaning in May. And then since then, I've been training to understand the system, how everything works. We also have some more employees. This includes Nathan Bush and Kingsley Roy. These are our hydroponic technicians. They assure that everything grows properly, and they make sure everything is clean. Our system is controlled by technology, which includes an iPad, generators, and panels. It tells us when to seed, harvest, and clean. This allows us to get notifications from our phones anywhere, anytime. We get notifications of nutrient levels, temperatures, lights, water intake, and stuff like that. So the system delivers nutrient-rich water to plants. It provides fresh greens all year round in any weather. Our system provides a lot of greens and can produce about 450 heads of greens weekly. The goal is to sell everything within the week so we can continue to deliver and produce more greens. We're getting a second container, so we'll soon be able to produce 1,000 heads of greens once a week, and we'll be able to sell that to grocery stores and restaurants. Most of our restaurants like to sell local produce because it's cheaper and more efficient. And Chief Dean Roy and April, our economic developer, they provided us with the first CCAN, which was funded by Ontario. We got a grant. We also got a grant from Agriculture Canada, which was $214,000. And Shishigwaning covered the rest of that. What else? This all started in January 2020 when they met with Brenavin from Grocer Inc. Grocer Inc. provided us with the CCAN containers, our training, and our seeds and everything we needed. So since we opened the containers, we've employed multiple youth and students. And yeah, it's been helping the economy around here because there's not much jobs and stuff. And we started local farmers markets every Sunday. And we've been selling, local farmers would give us their produce to sell for them. So it'd be easier for the local farmers and stuff like that. This will be our second unit that we're getting within a few weeks. So Shishiguaning is 45 minutes to the closest grocery store, which makes it harder for people to be able to get food. So our system helps people nearby to get fresh vegetables. During the state of emergency, Chief Dean Roy and our economic development, April Foltz, met with Grocer Inc. and they funded the first grocer along with the grant from Agriculture Ontario. There were issues with finding fresh produce in grocery stores. So this overall just helped everyone get fresh produce because we couldn't find any on shelves where we live, and it was really expensive. So that's some pictures from our farmers markets. We've also been making salad kits, which helps with us selling everything. And they've been working really well, and we're gonna start selling it to like local coffee shops and gas stations. So it'll be available for everyone at like any time. So when I market the greens, I like to post in local Facebook groups, and I like to post it on Instagram when we have greens available for locals to come and get them, or I can deliver the greens. And we also have a weekly delivery date. So each week I'd go out to deliver across the island. And with our salad kits that we created, we sold out on all our kits within like the first hour. But in perspective, Ottawa Freshwater Gardens helped our like local communities with fresh produce and our local businesses. And we have a lot of restaurants that like to order our produce. And that's all.
Thanks, Trinity. That was fantastic. So we have, some questions are lining up. The wrap on your farm, by the way, is stunning.
Thank you.
Did somebody locally do the design?
Yeah, we had a painter do our design.
Yeah, that's it's pretty unique. So the first question that came in is, what size is the container that you're working out of? And what type of delivery vehicle do you have? And I'm going to add a third question. The new farm that's coming, is it the same size as the original farm?
The new farm that's coming is a little bigger. And I would say the size of it would be, the width would be about 20 feet by 50. So that's the first one. And the other one's going to be bigger than the first one.
Okay. And what type of delivery vehicle are you using for your deliveries?
We use a van for our deliveries with coolers.
Mm-hmm. And so I think I heard you say that you're delivering once a week. Are you anticipating delivering more often when the new farm comes in?
Probably twice a week when the new farm comes in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we have like a harvest day once a week.
Okay. And with so many young people that you get to work with, I have to ask, what's your favorite part of the job that you're doing right now?
It'd probably just be meeting our clients and talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
So delivery days and like working at the market.
Mm-hmm. And is that where you get a chance to find out from people what they want you to grow? Like, how do you figure out what your market is?
Oh yeah, we get suggestions for herbs and stuff from the restaurants.
Mhm.
And yeah.
Mhm. And when you're working with communities like, help me pronounce that. Can you teach me?
Shishiguaning.
Shishiguaning. When you're working with communities like that, do they have different requests, different needs?
Not really. We just mainly sell greens and herbs because that's what our system can provide for us.
Mhm.
So if we wanted to sell stuff like strawberries or tomatoes, we'd have to get a whole new system because they need different nutrients.
Okay, bit of a different learning curve there. You seem to have hit the nail on the head with the salad kits.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what are the plans for that going forward?
Right now we're still working on to I still have to contact some coffee shops and grocery stores for that. But we're just starting that now because we just did that last week and it was a big hit for everybody.
Mhm.
And we made a pretty big profit from that.
Oh, good. That's wonderful. It's always good to hear about those things, the profit. So you got this rolling pretty much at the front end of COVID. Did you have to change a lot to navigate through everything that was happening in the last year, year and a half?
Not really, because when we started, it was just COVID and like we had to, there was a state of emergency for produce. So it was a big need around here.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, everything's just to stay clean. So when we grow, everything has to be clean in general. Like you have to wear masks, you have to wear like a lot of equipment just so nothing like no pests or bugs get into the sea can.
Mm-hmm.
Because if pests were to get in, that would wreck the whole system and we'd have to restart.
Right. They can be pretty sensitive. So COVID is all you've known, and it sounds like in your case, it worked for business. It created a demand that you probably didn't anticipate.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that was a good bridge for you then, not so much a
Yeah.
barrier. Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate that. I've got one more question here actually, and it's a good one. How do you set your prices?
We just April sets the prices for everything and what she says, like it's pretty reasonable prices. So each head of lettuce is $3. Rather than in the grocery store over here, it's about $7.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So are you finding that the prices that are being set for most of the items fall below that of what's at the local grocery stores?
Yeah.
And so that's also giving you that business advantage?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the training, are you doing in-house training? How are you learning?
The training's from an iPad and it's with videos and like you have to read a lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So remote and bandwidth and having good internet
Yeah.
is a good thing. Okay, fantastic. So in that, I just want to go back to that difference of price. There's some questions showing up here in the chat. Growing locally and keeping prices down. Somebody's commenting, so great that you're contributing to the local food market that way. Are people surprised that you're putting out as much food from those units as you are?
Yeah. A lot of the restaurants and coffee shops are really glad that we opened this business because they had to order their vegetables from the States and stuff. So it was really expensive for them.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a great service. That's wonderful. I really appreciate that you did this live presentation with us and you took some time to chat. Sonia here says, congratulations on those units. They're amazing. We're looking to acquire one in the near future. If you had any words of wisdom for Sonia, what would you tell her about the unit that you have?
I would just say there's lots of grants available for food and agriculture, so do your research on that. So it really helped us out a lot with the grants from Canada and Ontario.
Okay. Great advice. He'll appreciate that. Okay, so I think we are now ready to go to Steve Smith's presentation. And when Steve's done, we will have an opportunity to throw some more questions out to our panel members. So I appreciate that our panel members are staying with us. So Steve, I'm going to now switch this over to you.
Great, thanks, Ken. So I'm going to shut off my video so I don't mess things up. Yeah, again, here today to talk about growing your food business. Table of contents is next. Are you able to switch the slides, please? Thank you, great. We ran through this earlier on in the call, but I'm going to start looking at some considerations for growing your food business. And as we go, I'm going to try and spend most of the time on sales and marketing, but there are some operational aspects that I want to hit up on as well, like manufacturing and product development as you do grow your business, and some considerations for those aspects as well. So if we go to the next slide. Excellent. So this could be some soft stuff, if you will, not so much hard stuff, but a self-assessment. This is important to consider to kind of drive the success of your business as you grow it. I don't remember what author, it was a motivational author, I believe, that came up with understanding your why. So why do you want to grow your food business? Is it growth for the sake of growing, or are there other underlying motivations? And this author's point was, you know, the bigger the why, the greater chances of success. So it's worth some self-contemplation on why you are wanting to grow your business past what you are now. Look at what are some of the pros and cons. For example, are you prepared to work longer hours if you do this? Do you have the personal and business skills to grow a business to the next level? If so, if not, have you run your plans by an advisor? Are you willing to consider any advice given from somebody that's done this before? Have you thought about how you can fund the growth of the business? And importantly, how do your friends and family feel about this? Do they support you? Because that's going to be really important as you grow. Business planning. So now we're getting into the hard stuff again. You probably have a business plan of some sorts right now, but as you grow it, I think it becomes increasingly important to map out your path. Now we're going to talk about a lot of these things in turn, so I'm going to run through it quite quickly right now. But important to go through your market research, understanding where your product fits into the marketplace, understanding the demand for your product, who your competitors are, where you can price it, and if that price works for you and your business plans. The business description, your history, your vision, mission, and values. That sounds kind of soft, but that is super important. Your end users, your consumers of your product do want to identify with you. And if you can tell a little story about your business, that's going to help build your brand and build your brand recognition. Furthermore, if you're selling into retail, the buyers also want to hear about your business. So I wouldn't overlook the history, vision, mission, and values. I think those are a really important part of your business planning. Product development, that may change as you grow. It's important to keep consistent with your product, your features and benefits, and your competitive advantage. And you may deal with changes in your shelf life. Maybe you have to meet greater regulations. So you need to stay on and have a plan for your product development. Manufacturing may change as you grow, different ways to scale up your manufacturing. Your marketing, it's important to have a promotion plan. Your distribution channels, are you going from a farm gate to a farmer's market to retail, food service, online, a number of different avenues you can take to plan that out as well. And then the last two, they're a presentation in themselves, so I'm not really going to get into them in this presentation, but it's important to understand your financing plan, how you're going to finance your business. And then now you're operating a larger business. There's going to be management and human resources and labor, things to consider as well. But again, that's for a totally separate presentation. So product development. Sorry, I just slid this slide somewhere else. Your product development may change as you grow bigger, especially if you're a processor. So prototyping is important at a larger scale. Sourcing your ingredients may change. You may have to source from different parties. Consistency becomes super important as you develop a brand and as you grow into different channels. And maybe this can be done through a development facility. I've been increasingly impressed with the work that universities and colleges are doing out there, so it might be an opportunity to partner there. Again, back to the point I just made on consistency. Clear identity of your product is your brand. People are buying a consistent product. So sensory properties, make sure they're consistent as you grow. Again, shelf life might change. And then consider your packaging as you grow as well. Are there more regulations? Is labeling changing? So there will be packaging considerations. And then, of course, your competitive advantage as you grow with your product. Understand why people are buying your product and not someone else's. And then leverage that and make sure, again, you stay consistent with your product as you develop into growth mode. Promoting your product, regardless of which channel you sell into, really, it is still important to promote your product. Whether you are going into farmers markets, there's different direct targeted marketing that you can do. For example, special interest publications. This is really useful with a niche product. So I've said gluten-free there, or active lifestyle. For example, if you are producing protein bars, fitness magazine might be a good targeted area to market in, or vegan snacks into a health magazine. So targeted marketing if you have a good niche product. Advertising is much more broad, but still very valuable. And that's simply your TV, your radio, your newspaper, taking out spots in those media. Of course, online advertising is everything right now. Search engine optimization, social media. There's a ton of consulting companies out there now that are helping smaller businesses reach the online world. Publicity is another avenue. I really like publicity because I love hearing about local stories, and it's free. So this is contacting your local newspaper, your local television news channel, and then bringing them in for a product launch, or bringing them in for grand openings, and then having your product promoted and your brand promoted through news media. And then, of course, trade shows. We just ran a couple really good trade shows here. Now they're in Toronto, but there are smaller trade shows around. But Grocery Innovations Canada, where we had retailers of all shapes and colors, independent grocers to the large chains, show up for people to present their products to. And coming up in February, there's Restaurants Canada, where restaurant owners and buyers, distributors, caterers, chefs will all be there, learning from the trade and learning how people can help them grow their business. So now, as you grow, there's different channels you can consider selling into. For example, direct farm marketing. Maybe you're on farm right now with a roadside stand, a market, or pick your own establishment, and you can move to farmers markets. There's increasing consumer demand and interest in local food and buying local. When you are direct farm, you do have more involvement in the marketing and the sale to your end user than you would if you were in bigger channels. Fairly good level of control in your production, selling and setting the price. And there is an increasing trend now towards agritourism and edutainment. Our minister likes to call it diversified agriculture. And Katrina talked to a number of different examples there, which were just awesome. So considerations for growth when you're growing your direct farm business. as location. And maybe you can leverage other farms, as Katrina said, but is the population large enough to sustain your sales, to achieve your goals? Do you need to go further abroad to reach the population? And is that feasible? It's important to create a brand image through your displays, your signs, your landscaping. Let people recognize who you are out there and let people identify with you. Customer loyalty is super important as you grow. It starts with customer service, but also it's being where people are on social media. And then of course your agritainment again is super important for loyalty. And then markets can be a good stepping stone to other distribution channels as well, which we will talk about now. I'm going to look at retail possibly. So how can you get into retail and how can you get listed locally? Whether it's an independent chain or an independent grocer or a larger chain. First and foremost is make contact with the stores. Get in front of the local store manager or category managers if it's in some of the other chains. But get in front of them. Say hello, introduce yourself, introduce your product, have a clear value proposition as you do that. Make sure you can present to them why they should buy from you and why your product is going to be good for their business. But be patient and leverage Barry and Carol and us at OMAFRA, because we do have events that can connect you with retailers. Be prepared when you go in to talk to them. Understand your costs and retail points. This is a business after all. It's a business for them and for you. And so it's important to understand your pricing. Have your packaging and your labeling dialed in at this point, and be prepared personally to meet increasing sales as you go into larger channels. Again, don't forget your promotion of your product, because even though you are selling into different channels, you still are responsible for selling your own product and promoting your own product. And on the next slide, we're going to talk about having a well-prepared presentation as you do talk to retailers. So first of all, understand their strategy. So you have a presentation coming up with a retailer, you've got an opportunity to talk with them, understand who they are and what's important to them. For example, Walmart is everyday low prices. Farm Boy is fresh and local. And understand their goals and where they position themselves in the market. Are there different banner or format strategies? For example, discount or premium. Presenting a premium product into a discount banner may not be your best approach. So again, tailor your presentation, tailor what you're doing to fit their strategy. Next, demonstrate expertise in the category. Particularly with independent grocers, they may not have the depth of expertise into each category that a chain might, but even within chains, if you're talking to a category manager, you're the specialist in your sector and they can benefit from what you have to say about your sector for sure. And that will, for lack of better words, get you points in the system if you can tell them how your sector can boost their sales. Be brief and concise, be creative. Propose unique and customized marketing concepts to them to help them differentiate themselves in the market as well. And lastly, and not least important at all, be engaged and be enthusiastic about your opportunity. That's contagious when you're talking to someone that you want to sell your product to. But making direct contact with the local store manager isn't the only way. There's brokers or distributors out there that you could use as well. Now, a broker, also known as an agent, will have well-established relationships with a multitude of retailers, depending on your goals and where and when you want to go. They'll represent a number of different clients, and essentially they'll act as your sales and marketing team, taking your product, presenting it to the retailers with the intention of getting you in their stores. They may also help promote your product in the stores, for example, a display at the end of an aisle. So a wonderful partner to have in a broker or an agent, but you do pay for it. Commissions for them typically range between 5 and 20%. Distributors, wholesalers, whereas a broker would present your product and charge a commission, a distributor or wholesaler buys your product and then resells it to the retailer. And it's typically for larger volumes. For example, Loblaws uses George Weston. You would sell to George Weston. They would manage the purchasing and logistics to sell to Walmart. And then, sorry, to Loblaws. And then there's Walmart, Cisco, a number of other larger companies use distributors as well. So when you do decide, or if you decide you want to use a broker or an agent to grow your business, certain considerations that you should look at as you do that. Understand who they're selling to. If you want to get into Metro and all they sell is to Walmart, may not be a good fit for you. You know, ask other suppliers, what are their experiences with them? Sorry about that. Ask them to describe their volume as you move into business with them. Understanding if you want to sell 20,000 units and they only sell 100,000 plus, may not be a good fit for you. Understand the volume that they sell. And then interview several brokers. There's a lot of them out there. Try and find one that fits with you and get quotes as well. You might have options. As you grow, understand that you may be a little more limited in your pricing options as you do work with different channels. So be prepared to work with others on your pricing, as opposed to selling at the end of your farm where you may have more flexibility in your pricing. Might be a little more constrained as you grow into certain retail channels. So it's super important now to really understand the costs that go into your product, starting with ingredients, but the overhead is really important. You're in business to make money, so this needs to be priced in when you're selling into other channels. Think about your labor, your real estate, utilities, equipment, packaging, labeling, marketing, and then debt servicing. There's a lot of costs that need to be readily understood to fit into your pricing. And of course, if you are using wholesalers or brokers, they're going to have fees, they're going to have rates, and there's going to be potentially listing fees if you're going into retail. And then back to your business plan. Is this where you want to be? Are you making the money that you want to be making? So we're going to switch gears a little bit here. We're getting to the end of the presentation. So from sales and marketing into manufacturing, your manufacturing now may need to evolve as well. Graduating from in your kitchen, possibly to a commercial kitchen, possibly to establishing a co-packing relationship, or get into leasing and buying your own plants. So we're going to start by talking about co-packing, I believe, on the next slide. Thank you. Co-packing is when you have a third-party manufacturer manufacture your goods for you. And there are certain advantages to co-packing. They presumably are experienced manufacturers and have manufacturing expertise that you could benefit from. Your costs can be consistent. You come to an agreement on what you're going to pay them up front, and it's pretty consistent over time. Reduce startup time. You don't have to invest in a facility or equipment. Furthermore, the co-packer is going to maintain that facility and equipment. If done right, they're responsible for quality control, and there should be some consistency and some expertise when it comes to quality control. And it allows you to focus on other aspects of your business, such as product development and sales. Of course, there are disadvantages as well. You may face minimum orders, and that's something that you need to consider, whether you can inventory the rest of the order that you may not use right away, or if it's just too high for you. There's higher costs. You will pay for their services. If you produce in-house, you might not have as extensive costs. You do give up a little bit of control. Again, you're passing this along to someone else, but in exchange for that, you're building your business elsewhere. And then protection of your formula. There may be risks there. It's important to understand who owns the IP in the formula. And ultimately, it's important to have confidence in your co-packer and make sure that that's a good working relationship. So on the next slide, if you are going out now to look for a co-packer, here's some criteria, some questions you can ask. Understand their food safety standards and certificates. Again, you want someone experienced that has all these standards in place, the proper certificates to manufacture your product. Are there specialty requirements? Are you gluten-free? Are you nut-free? Can the co-packer meet those requirements? You're going to need to negotiate a price that works for both of you. Again, back to your business plan. Understanding around quality. and how the quality must be maintained and what that level of quality is. Volume, again, so understand the volume that they can manufacture for you, and does it fit? Is it too much? Is it too little? So understand that. Availability of warehousing, again, if you're going to have to inventory product at the end of the day, can they do that for you? Do you need to take it in-house after they manufacture it? So understanding where you can inventory your product. And again, who's going to own the formulas? Who's going to own the intellectual property around your product? And always feel free to go to other clients of the co-packers to get references. If not co-packing, growing in-house again. So maybe that's moving to a commercial kitchen. Maybe that is moving into a plant, whether it's leased, bought, or building on your own. But it's important to understand as you get into a place now that, you know, zoning, there's going to be zoning requirements, and that's really important. Location to highways and shipping routes, and your end user if you're selling out of that location, and of course the design. You're going to be sourcing your own equipment now. You're going to be responsible for your own product quality, safety, and traceability. You're likely to have a staff that you're going to need to train, and of course manage your own inventory. So there's certainly considerations to growing into your own expanded plant, and of course cost as well. So I don't have a concluding slide. That's right to the thank you slide. But happy to take any questions along the way here. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. The questions have started to build in the chat box here. And to begin with, first question, I have heard you have had to pay for retail shelf space at times on top of a commission to a broker. Any comments?
Yes, that is true. But it's not a hard and fast rule. So with many of the chains, it is likely that you have to pay what they call a listing fee. But oftentimes, if they're looking for local promotion, they may not charge that. Independent grocers don't always charge that as well. So it is on a case-by-case basis. There's, again, pretty common within the chains, however, not always. It's a discussion that's going to need to be had with the category manager, the local manager, but it is not uncommon to pay for shelf space.
And in your experience, is it a flat fee or is it a percentage?
Yeah, sorry, I don't know.
You don't know. Okay,
no.
Good answer.
I'm the new guy over here, by the way.
Are ya? What's new? How new is new?
May.
May. Okay.
I come from the Ministry of Economic Development, so I'm figuring out.
So you're in the hot seat today.
I'm in the hot seat today. That's right.
I won't apologize ahead of time for grilling you. Hang on.
Grill me. Go. We'll see what I can do. And if I don't know, I don't know.
So is there a directory of co-packers? Do you know if there's any in the north specifically? I mean, obviously being in the north, it's easier for us to deal with northern co-packers, or is this really something that's set up in the south?
That's a great question. So certainly I know it is available in the south. In the north, though, we do have our business advisors like Barry and Carol who are on the call today. And that would be a wonderful question. By connecting with them directly, they may have that information handy, but that's a good starting point, and is working with OMAFRA's in-field, in-market representatives on that.
Way to delegate that question to Barry.
It's true. You're welcome, Barry.
Okay. We could bring Barry on if he has that answer.
Oh, look, he's got an answer there for you.
I'm just looking. I know that it was in our food bulletin a few weeks ago, Steve. So a few months ago, I'm looking for that link. If I find it quickly, I'll put it in the chat here.
Excellent.
Excellent. I almost feel like you could probably have a half-day session just on co-packing. I think that's probably the newest piece for a lot of people who are looking to scale. Is that a service that OMAFRA provides?
The connection to the co-packers.
Just to the co-packers. And so from that whole learning piece about co-packing and dealing with co-packers and...
Oh, sure. We could certainly put on seminars if that's what you're asking. Absolutely.
Yeah,
There's a ton of expertise.
just to jump in, so we have a whole session that's a half day or more called Selling Food to Ontario that Steve organizes and has components that, so we shrunk this down to just Steve for this meeting, but we do have a whole session as well that adds to that, Steve?
Absolutely. Yeah, ton of expertise that if ever called upon, we could easily put together a presentation on any aspect of business development for food and agriculture products, but certainly co-packing as well.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that, Barry, for throwing that out, because I feel like we have a lot of startups and small scale food producers here in Northern Ontario, and the next step seems to be going into the co-packing if you want to reach the size of some of the markets that are available. But there's a lot involved in that. Would you say, having been here since May, that is there a case for developing co-packers in Northern Ontario? Are we getting there?
You know what? I might pass that to Barry. I am out of the Guelph office, and I know when we set this up, Kelly, you said, I want some Northern expertise here. But I am from the South. Barry, what do you think about that?
So I don't know how detailed to want to get into. We've been working with a number of companies who are looking for co-packers and have lined them up with some that are either in the north or in the south. So it just depends. Like, it's easy to say you want a co-packer, but what do you want a co-packer for? What specific product? Because there are some in the north that do it, and there are some in this, and then there's obviously others in other parts that do it. So I think it's like case by case a bit too, right? Like, what do you need? But there are some really good resources out there that we can certainly direct people to.
Yeah, and then just to reiterate this one more time, there is so much knowledge sitting in OMAFRA for producers at any level to just don't hesitate to reach out to your regional representative. If there's a ton on the website, but there's something to be said about talking to the local experts who have been doing this for quite some time. In the chat box, Dave Thompson is bringing our attention to the fact that Thunder Bay EDC is putting on a virtual workshop next week on the topic for those who are interested. So we're going to capture that link, and we will certainly put it in with any follow-up details. And it'll be, we'll promote that through LFC as well.
Excellent.
Okay. And so for the panelists that are here with us, you know, the things that have come up in what we've talked about today, we're looking at, it was said, you know, abattoirs are key for agri-food strategy. Access to broadband, pardon me, is key. And we're seeing a strong desire for Northerners to reconnect at this point. I hesitate to use the words post-COVID, but I'm hopeful that that's where we're at. So as a Northern regions, I'm going to just put this question out to anybody who wants to answer it. Where would you say with those needs, the next bridge could be built to help Northerners move Northern food from seed to plate? Nobody's jumping on it. Okay, fair enough.
Well, I think that
just to add to Barry's point before about abattoirs, I think that's a critical thing here in Algoma as well. Meat processing infrastructure will determine your ability to direct market local food. And in Algoma, many are traveling 3 hours to get to an abattoir with animals and then bringing them back. So it's kind of, you know, a lot of people don't really want to go through that stress and take the time of their day. So some farms have shifted away from doing that. I think, you know, for us to realize this, we need investment in access to capital for abattoir owners, and we need supports, training for butchers, and yeah, it's a big need.
Barry, did you want to add to that?
I think Dave's point's very, very accurate, but I think there are a lot of organizations out there like RAIN and like NOFIA and some of the other Thunder Bay Food Charter, et cetera. Like, we have a lot of organizations doing a lot of different things, and Northern Food Distribution Network, EFAO. So, like, there's so much happening and so much going on that coordination of some of this stuff, maybe that's more of a role OMAFRA can play, but just coordinating what's out there and who's doing what would be very helpful in a lot of cases, right? Like some repository where all that information is.
Okay. Do you know, Barry, if there is regional or pan northern organizations that are looking at the abattoir piece?
Oh, specifically on the abattoir piece? Well, there are many farm organizations that are pushing forward, and there are funding opportunities that come along for those abattoirs that are in place. And we are, for the most part, pretty well positioned in Northern Ontario. That's a whole discussion for another time. It's just that in certain areas, people have to travel a long way because the volume may not be there in a small community to support an abattoir. But I don't, like, we did OMAFRA did a study a couple of years ago on meat processing in Northern Ontario, and we have that report that has guided us on some of our funding and some of our work forward with FedNor and NOHFC and other funding agencies, but there's still work to do. So that's a push that has to come from people who needed the service, and then hopefully there's stimulus response.
Okay, thank you for that. We have a question here from Phil. Mobile abattoirs, are they a potential solution for Northern Ontario rather than hard infrastructure in regions with populations that are all too small?
Again, I don't want to talk a lot, but I will jump in on that one. So currently they're not legal in Ontario. Our legislation would have to be changed to allow it. And my experience with mobile abattoirs in small communities, Northwestern Quebec had one. And there's a lot of challenges around operating mobile abattoirs. And again, we can get you more information, but I would say that this is my opinion, not OMAFRA's, not anybody else's, that it's better to have stationary abattoirs and take animals there than to try to take abattoirs to animals. Although we do have a business in Temiskaming that started, which is very helpful for on-farm processing for family needs, which is they got funding to buy some trailers and have all the processing on farm. And so they'll go to the farm, they kill the animal, they dress it there, they hang it in coolers for the required amount of time, then come and process it. That's for your own in-family use. So where I see it as a benefit, if on my farm I had an animal break its leg or something, I don't want to transport it to the abattoir, they could come and harvest it there, and that'd be of use to me. But you can't sell that product legally currently.
Thanks for that information. That is interesting. Katrina, did you want to add to the conversation?
Yeah, I just wanted to agree on the point that the availability of abattoirs has definitely made an impact on the way that we're developing our farm business. It really does put a big dent in the planning and that kind of thing when, you know, we're having to book so far in advance because the available abattoirs are so booked up. And the frustrating part for myself as well, we just do chickens at this point, but we often will send 150 and we'll get back 50 or 60 that have had limbs removed and that kind of thing. So we're losing already quality product that we can't legitimately sell to people unless they're willing to take parted birds. So I digress a bit, but anyway, it would be wonderful if there was just a few more options. So just more availability. It's kind of caused us to rethink doing poultry at all and just kind of focusing on vegetables because we just have so much better control over the quality, the availability, the timing and all that kind of stuff. Right now, we only have to travel an hour, but an hour with birds is a long time for them. And we also have to travel that hour to go pick up the crates, travel back, and travel again with the birds down to deliver the birds and the crates. So it does add a lot of labor and time. And both of us work full time. So we have to book days off work. It's very challenging to try to do all that. Pawasan used to have an abattoir 20 minutes from us, which was a blessing. And rumor mill has it that they are possibly starting up again. So I'm hoping that is the case. But I just wanted to make a point that absolutely the availability definitely influences us small guys as far as what we do and don't do with our business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like there's still room for a little more discussion on this topic. Northern Ontario needs are always unique because of the way our population is distributed and tends to be small. It doesn't seem to be like a one size fits all. Solution is the solution for everyone. It'd be interesting to know then, I'm going to throw this back at you again, Barry, sorry to do this to you. Where would a conversation like this to build a bridge, if we identify it as a barrier, where's the next level of conversation for something like this that it could go for discussion?
Well, I'll say that there is a Northern Agricultural Conference that is being scheduled for the winter, and those issues can be raised there. The other place where it's very important to raise it, I think, is in Ontario, we have general farm organizations, and the Ontario Federation of Agriculture has a Northern Caucus where each district is represented, and they bring issues forward and respond to issues. So I think they are one natural place where they could discuss, and they have discussed it, to bring forward solutions. The abattoir issue, Meat and Poultry Ontario, is an organization that's very, very keen to assist with Northern Ontario. I know David and I have met with them on numerous occasions, and Carol, and they would be a logical person. They're interested in helping Northern Ontario specifically. So I think that Meat and Poultry Ontario is amenable to discussions about what they can do to help with various issues around processing. Dave, I don't know if you want to comment on that, but that was just something that came to mind off the top of my head, a couple of things.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. I think some other interested stakeholders within this conversation is First Nations communities, because there's a bit, a need there for hunted game and getting it processed, and having that knowledge base transferred on to the next generation. So I'd say that'd be another. Another would be our institutions, like colleges in our communities. A few of them have culinary programs. They likely have some butchers in those programs who could be involved in training initiatives. And so we've connected with our local employment solutions tied to Sioux College, but there's others across the north who would be very interested in getting those opportunities for young people to find work in this kind of manufacturing sector. So.
Thanks, David. So we are a few minutes before the hour. I'm going to read one last comment, and if there aren't any other questions coming in, or if the panel members don't have any questions for each other, we'll move to wrap this up. So the last comment here is, infrastructure for direct marketing always suffers from push-pull. You can hear how we are losing diversified livestock farmers to the lack of abattoirs, long booking dates, affecting ability to plan, long travel times, et cetera, et cetera. So I think, yeah, we touched on, a potential barrier, and, we've briefly mentioned what some of the bridges might be and communities that are affected. So thank you, Barry, for putting in that link. We will capture that as well. And so this concludes. I deeply appreciate that you've chosen to spend 2 hours with us, the team at OMAFRA, the expertise that is here in Northern Ontario that has shown you how creative and innovative we can be. And we tend to always have to be because we're in Northern Ontario and things just move and work a little bit differently here. So in closing, I'll just repeat that these links will be sent to you in the follow-up emails, and you can catch this webinar on YouTube, the Local Food and Farm Co-op channel. To all of our presenters, I thank you for your time and attention and slides. If people wish to reach out to anyone here on the call, in the agenda on Eventbrite, all of the connections have been listed there where you can connect to our panel members if you have any other follow-up needs with them. So in that, I wish everyone the best of the rest of your day. Take care.